Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Let's continue. So we spent all last episode, 2 hours, wandering around, hunting, doing a side tomb. We were supposed to, storyline wise, just go into this temple, go all the way around this temple part, and then meet back up with Jonah and I believe Abby in this temple section, which is then going to lead us to another temple, which, considering that there is like a temple here that we can't open, or a crypt, I guess that might be how this works in the long run, is that we may find storyline entrances to temples before we can actually access them, or maybe some new thing will just open up. It is suspicious, to say the least, that there is nothing being revealed on this map, even though we've been all the way through this canopied area once already. But yep, more story time.
Jonah?
We're downstairs.
So we had already saying we're downstairs. Not very helpful. What do they mean by that? Oh, guess that. Like, we had already kind of found that there was some extra things to collect down these stairs, and weirdly, I feel like the game, when we first walked in the tutorial in the tomb, may have fast traveled us somewhat, so we were looking at this up here. Yeah, because I don't recall walking through the doorway and then having to walk all the way around. I'm not sure I particularly enjoy the idea of returning to the same tomb over and over again, with just more walls being torn apart. And I don't like the fact that in that section there is this kind of slow down element.
Hey.
Have you been down there?
Making you walk slowly.
What do you think we'll find?
The mural showed a series of trials. I may know another way around. Okay, I'll go ahead and meet you on the other side.
You know, you're right next to the village. Nothing would stop you from getting a saw. I mean, it's just wooden poles, old wooden poles. Even if you couldn't just hand break these to open the path back up. You, in fact, have the knife, makeshift knife on you. But obviously the game doesn't ever want Jonah with us or Abby with us. They just want to remind us that those two characters exist, which is fine. And it's somewhat questionable as to why Lara Croft needs to be the person going through all these trials, other than it seems like Lara Croft is passing the trials, whatever these trials are, so technically she'll be proven worthy to manipulate time or get some reward. I guess there's some element to that idea. Well, I managed to find a way to die there, but I don't think it mattered, as it checkpointed me anyways. Obviously the cinematic explanation on that would have been that I would have just dived in the water. Alright. I suppose we're supposed to swim this way. And I'm hoping I didn't miss anything. The gimmick of crawling through places underwater, I think, is a mistake. There was a dead body on the right there. I'm running out of oxygen during this whole process. And this gimmick fails. 2. Okay. So we've got eels, and I guess the idea here is we're supposed to be stealthing through the eels. So we can get to oxygen, the checkpoint. I guess the question definitely to ask here though is, would the eels hurt you, or are they going to kill you? They're going to give you a quick time event, but remember I have the quick time event button mashing disabled, so all I have to really do is hit the X button instead, which is a different experience. And it seems like I might actually just die running out of oxygen. I really have to say at this point, it feels like the underwater sections are only here because they've already invented the underwater sections, and had they never really engaged with that in the second game or the first game, and then we wouldn't be seeing it being used here. Definitely feels like it's being overused and stupidly used. And it's not like you would destroy realism that much if you just naturally had a circumstance where the water was all fairly shallow, maybe as far as this deep, and there was just nothing ever in it, no enemies, no collectibles, and you would use it to catch you on some falls, but otherwise just not use that idea at all. I suppose they are getting away from...
Jonah, I've come out in some sort of cavern. There are signs that people have been here. Jonah?
Yeah, I'm not even talking to Jonah on the radio, which I would have kind of expected that to happen more. In the first game, they probably would have instead enjoyed showing you Lara Croft just falling on the ground and rolling and cutting herself up and twisting her ankle or something. These climbing walls are still nowhere as well lit as they should be. And I guess that's what water saves you from. But this is hardly the kind of platforming game where I'd accidentally fall backwards and jump in the water, or have even a reason to jump back into water from this direction. So, yeah, this pool of water is not really adding anything. I don't think I could actually hit any of these bats. Yeah, I think those are probably not real.
Jonah, if you can hear me,
They're
I think
not
I'm still on the
highlighted.
path at the spider trial. I'm gonna get to the top.
Generally speaking, this doesn't 100% look like a man-made path. Which way am I supposed to be going? Like, one way. seems to lead you potentially back around. Just gotten the achievement for something. Grapple axe wall. And that would send me back that way. Meanwhile, it seems like there might just be multiple tunnels here that curve around. So these are perhaps trying to identify a collection of jade ore. Sell at the merchants. The jade is used for nothing else. So they definitely wanted you to see the jade. And they want you to hear a mechanism. But I'm not seeing a mechanism, so I feel like that's probably just a hint as to what's to come. I feel like this is probably going to fall. Right. And we have to get the correct height here to get that jump. I keep expecting to see a bunch of spiders show up. And traps could show up. Although I guess if traps can show up, I probably should be looking for tripwires, not just rolling through it. Trial of the Eagle. Where's this on the map, by the way? This somehow... Where are we? We somehow went from this spot to under here to this, which looks like a big thing, to this. Which that's an odd crossover in the map. Almost certainly you're going to, if you come back to this game and try and fast travel and find all the collectibles, you're going to see some collectible on the map over here and not remember how you got here and think that there's got to be some kind of hole, or like this water pit here, you swim down to this point, or through this water you swim to this point. It would be very hard to think it was all the way back here. You need basically a dotted line to connect that if you're going to have the map like that. And if anything, it just seems like what they're doing is filling in the map kind of willy-nilly.
Incredible. Jonah, I'm at the next trial, the Eagle. It has something to do with the wind.
I'm still tracking west, heading downward now. There's an underground river.
So the entirety of the trial of the spider was to crawl through some spider holes. Not fight a spider, not run into spiders, not climb the webs made out of rope. They basically abandoned the idea. And that makes me suspect that their historian they had helping them mentioned something about 3 trials and the trial of the spider, and halfway through a sentence they the developers of the game lost interest and said,
What's
yeah,
in
yeah,
with
we've
these
got it.
trials?
And then they made
The
a
hidden
small
city,
section.
but what else? I hope Jonah's alright.
I guess we also may be working our way towards the hidden city. Increase the amount that you can breathe for 2 skills. It's not really worth it. And we need 2 skill points for that. So we can't really do anything there. And it seems like we can't do anything here. Yeah, and that would make sense since I just used up all the resources at the end of the last episode. So we follow all these trials, we get into this hidden city, and then in the hidden city I guess we reveal a new group of people. That would be my guess. Although it seems like the wall to do these trials was hidden and bricked up before. Yeah, we're having a consistent theme of people bricking up walls and hiding things.
The world around them began to crumble. The people decided to move. The artifact entrusted to them urged them to travel south, lest it be seized by their enemies.
There's basically 2 things that can happen if we make it to a hidden city, which they really haven't done enough foreshadowing to the idea of a hidden city. We've seen hidden city mentioned in the menu more than we've heard Lara Croft talk about it. Either she would be immediately killed to keep the city hidden, or she would be warmly embraced, possibly as a warrior, goddess, something special and magical.
Still standing after centuries of earthquakes and storms.
So we have another one of these effectively challenge towers of platforming. Which, undeniably, that's a little video gamey. Let's make a big round thing that is spinning by the wind. I wasn't 100% sure B would let me actually drop down there. I wouldn't have been 100% surprised if pressing B just had her let go and fall to her death. I guess I could have also walked, jumped.
Might be a ladder if it was the right way up.
Okay.
Have to climb down.
I suppose you could forgive a lot of this as being intentionally convoluted as a challenge area, but obviously whoever created this, if this is supposed to be a challenging climbing thing, they seem to not tolerate failure very well, as you're allowing people to fall to their death. I would say this is probably a great point where the Nintendo mentality of falling and then hitting a lower platform and then that lower platform leading towards the beginning of the whole section would make some sense. You could easily do that right now. Just put a floor here instead of this bridge and have any fall lead back to this spot. Of course, that would exclusively require you to go upward and not downward. where it seems like we're going down, then up. I almost wouldn't be surprised if we go down here and that leads us to an area over here, and then we come back to this whole puzzle later on. Feels like I need some kind of Zelda-esque fan that would, or a giant green leaf that would blow a gust of wind. Maybe I will get something like that. I also kind of feel like what I'm gonna find is I need to collect as much arrows when I'm fighting people, which we're not really doing a lot of that. So it's like this is just gonna slide downwards. Nope, I was half expecting the whole thing to slide downwards. I feel like wall running in that fashion I didn't get high enough. I was sliding. Like wall running in that fashion should not really have you kicking your feet off the edge. Like when you do this, that part right there, that really shouldn't happen. And that's the way that was supposed to go. And I guess if we have almost instantaneously reloads, it's not as big of a deal. Although, are we really having instantaneous reload? Or are they hiding loading?
This looks promising.
Yeah, are they actually hiding the reloads behind a death sequence and a death animation?
Got to make my way up.
I bet the dirty little secret in this game is that the death animations that are way too long are actively hiding loads. Alright, so this is a game of lining up to get to the next point. Some of this definitely feels too factory made, like out of time. Right, so I guess I'm supposed to do that.
Got it.
Yeah, those metal beams should really be wooden logs. Okay. Now you can't jump, it seems.
Can't climb this one yet.
So we're gonna have to activate each ladder independently. Yeah, you can't jump up the ladder, so you can't just hit A then A and speed up the process.
Okay, turn the next ladder, just like the first. More sails.
I assume I'm supposed to jump here. I'm a little confused as to whether when I tethered to this pole to the other spinning thing that was down there, was that supposed to imply that the rope was causing it to spin, or was it supposed to imply that it just yanked something in alignment? Because it would make a lot more sense to just yank it in alignment. It's very video game logic where thing causes other thing to happen. Don't question why the other thing causes the other thing to happen. That was a very far jump. Still running into that problem too. Seems like we might end up climbing back downward on that same
Need to find
path.
a way outside.
Well, we've got a breakable looking wall, but no explanation as to how to break it, since we've never done that before. So you have to crawl fast.
Close.
Although you can't actually move any faster when crawling.
To access the central pillar.
Clearly, what needs to happen here is there needs to be a way to right click and get this, and then hold down right click and load slowly into a hint. Like, instead of this just being the hints. Let's see what happens when we do that. That breaks a log that we can now clip through.
Got to be a way to open the door somehow. This might work.
Okay.
Damn, the lever is too worn to hold the door.
There's a secret here. I could easily miss that. I was thinking...
Do not hide good food from guests, because it will turn into worms.
I was thinking maybe there was going to be a slide back to another section from this post. But by the looks of it, no. So I'm assuming what I'm supposed to do is pull this. And I'm pretty sure you just get free arrows when you're doing that. Then do that.
Yes, that'll hold.
Like, how many arrows do we have? 22? I guess I could theoretically jump on this, but they've actually programmed it so you can't climb on it. You could cut it if you wanted to. I don't really see a reason why you would.
There.
So yeah, this is twisting, and then that would pull the rope
The ladder should turn
and
now.
potentially start pulling the other rope, I guess is the idea. I don't know if I really believe that if it just worked like that.
Got to find another way up.
Okay. So the ladder broke.
Maybe I can climb the machinery.
It looks like there's something over there, but I think that's just a door. I think I'm perfectly safe where I'm sitting. Alright, so it wants me to go on the inside. Here. So we took some damage, and you just wait until you heal. suppose it might be interesting if we actually do go back in time and we saw this in its heyday, perfectly built. If there were actual multiple floors and it was a lot prettier and
Just
safer.
got to keep climbing.
Grab some feathers while we're at it to remind us that this is the Trial of the Eagle. Now it seems like almost you would go up here, but the game, I think rightfully so, does not ever push you to climb on something that is tilted. So I think there's some safety in assuming that's not the way. But cinematically, you definitely would have wanted a camera like to follow an eagle flying all the way to the top here to show you where you were supposed to go and what they wanted you to do. And there definitely are just other parts of this even where it would make sense for the camera to just give you a little bit of a visual hint.
Should be able to make my way down to the chamber from here.
Down to the chamber? What, in a leap? In an Assassin's Creed style leap of faith?
Huracan, face to face in a temple built in your honor.
I'm thinking I'm supposed to jump on that ledge over there and climb back down. And no big reveal of this eagle statue. I almost completely visually missed it. I think maybe I'm supposed to rappel downward.
Careful.
Yeah. Let's wait until it rotates. See, there I don't know if I'm supposed to have tapped X or if I was supposed to tap A. Really, it seems like this is all just a cutscene anyways. Although it does seem like some control was actually available to me there.
I'm past the Eagle trial. I must be closing in on the hidden city.
What's the difference between blue and yellow? Why is the blue highlighted? What's the difference between that one urn and several other things in this area? That's a problem when you have like too many things in an area. And I know we've collected things from jars like that before, and yet now we can't. If they were going to introduce the idea of poisonous animals and things...
This appears to be Incan, but it looks newer than the stone underneath. Was this made later?
Yeah. I'm a little surprised we're not running into water that has like acidity to it or poison in it. It'd be very easy to just miss these murals.
Paititi flourishes under the watchful gaze of Yaskar Yahweh and his council. The city grows, temples are built, the people are peaceful, prosperous, and content.
I suppose with all these murals and all the talking breaking up the game, it gives me an opportunity to always take a drink of water. So we did the spider, which was absolutely nothing. We did the eagle, which was a ton of climbing. And so let's think about this. As far as skills, which we can't even pull up, the trial of the spider probably is leaning more into the idea of exploration, and this is more into transversing. And I guess the mechanical stuff we heard on this wall was actually supposed to be part of this. Or I'll just have to assume that. Unless there was something under the water here that I missed, which maybe. So I'm assuming we'll end in a big fight. And so for the 3 different skill sets, we'll have several tombs like this. And then I have no idea what this is going to do, but I suspect there's just enough room for, if this is the Kawakyaku city, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the hidden city and you just have cities next to cities that aren't really that far away from each other. It kind of feels like the Kawakyaku citizens would know of the hidden city and secretly protect it, and then they would send people who would want to go on a spiritual journey through these trials, and then they would be allowed in the hidden city when they reach a certain age. There is a question certainly about Kawakyaku though, in that it seems like there's enough jade and gold around where I'm investigating to imply that there's probably jade and gold throughout the mines and hills and the ground in general, so them just meagerly making money from oil isn't 100% logical. Although I also wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of places like that where there might be a high amount of gold and gems, precious gems, and there may just be no government interest in mining it or local interest in mining it. Why is there a group of maggots right here? I don't know. The survival instincts aren't highlighting it. I guess that would be another opportunity where you could have Indiana Jones equivalency and have Lara Croft hate maggots. Maggots I hate maggots would work perfectly, and it would not really conflict with anything I imagine they've ever established with Lara Croft in the previous games. Does she need to be a one-to-one equivalent to Indiana Jones? No. But is she a better replacement for Indiana Jones in her current form? No. She has no personality at all. She has no friendships, no relationships other than Jonah and whatever random character you're introduced to per game. I feel like there shouldn't have been a ledge there if I couldn't actually jump to any other location, which it seems like that was the case. Perhaps the overusing of the water sections is so you can get medical herbs. What it all really feels like is that this game was being developed either under a large amount of pressure or just a considerable lack of care, when we've seen the same gimmick done twice of effectively every time you want to close off the path backwards, you fall in water, although really not even committing to that because clearly you can climb back there. There's no creativity, nobody advocating to do something a little different. If anything, it feels like this third game may have been under a mandate to not create any new gameplay mechanics or anything that would really stray from the path of what we've already seen in the two previous games. But you're making a game about the apocalypse. It feels like you could, for the end of this trilogy, which is pretty much obvious that this was going to be the end of the trilogy, you could have gone all out and changed things quite a bit. It's a little too late now, though. Also, we're 10-15 hours into this game, and if they introduce like a Sands of Time rewind feature, like, you would have needed to tease that a lot earlier. In fact, I can throw out some percentages here as far as achievements. I most recently have collected 20 critters to get the zoologist achievement, which has only been done by 37% thereabout of players, where the archaeologist achievement for completing an artifact collection has been done by 50% of the game players. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out if there's any achievements that I can see on my second screen that would be directly story related. Unfortunately, I don't think there are. This almost has a Darksiders 3 vibe, and that's kind of a interesting comparison, or a Darksiders vibe in general. But they basically are the same game in this one scene. In Darksiders 3, you swing on poles and you climb on walls, and all of that, I guess, really comes from Ocarina of Time, if anything. There is almost something magical about Ocarina of Time in particular, in that a lot of that game is fairly forgettable, and yet people have nearly 100% good memories of the game. And that would probably do better if the map was... Let's just zoom out here. Okay, so we do have a whole new section which is taking us down this way, and by the look of the map I bet we might have a very big hidden city here. But yeah, if you were to do an Ocarina of Time equivalent, you might start in a small little area like the fairy forest or elf forest, whatever you do as a kid. Do a little bit of a tutorial, have to beat the boss in the case it was a tree in Ocarina of Time, and then you would open up to a very large open world in the central Hyrule. And in an Ocarina of Time, that central area actually doesn't have a lot in it, but it acts as a very nice way of hiding loads as you run from one edge that would lead to a temple. There was a very big section to another edge with a different temple, which is a very large section. And in Darksiders 2, you kind of have that same idea. You eventually get to a big open area in the middle that is just a field you ride horses in. Lara Croft, oddly, never rides a horse in this trilogy. And I don't expect to see her ride a horse. And in this case, she could certainly take trucks from one large point to another large point in the field, and then leave the truck when she enters a section. But that's what you really would want if you're going to go with an open world. Whereas this game really is not an open world. It is city sections and then extremely linear sections. You could even go halfway here by eventually opening up like a path here and a path from here to here that's more straight. And maybe the time travel mechanic, if it really happens, might do that. But I would say Darksiders 1 in particular gets kind of away from the open world concept, or doesn't do it as much, and is closer to this where everything is a linear experience. And I get it, they want it to be cinematic, and you can control things a lot better by having these linear pathways. So we have a camera
Jonah?
flying by.
The view up here is amazing. The hidden city must be near.
Lara, I made it through. I'm entering a cavern.
Jonah? Damn.
It might be a case where we end up having to save Jonah. So she just said the view is amazing, and yet the camera is mostly focusing on showing us the gameplay mechanics over here, instead of showing us this, which is a more interesting view. I don't think I can shoot too many birds here. I probably can shoot that one, if I so chose. I would have to shoot ahead of it. I don't think I'm actually hitting it. Weirdly, though the game is encouraging me to shoot at it. Oh, color me confused. If I hit this bird, I can't even get the feathers from it. There's an assumption here that, alright, that was a decent amount of resources, that whatever society or whatever people would be creating this trial would appreciate you hunting all the animals, when I'm not 100% sure you can make that assumption. So yeah, we still have only 1 point. So secret path, we've done scavenger path. Yeah. So I'm suspecting we're going to do a warrior path, although it doesn't exactly equate. If anything, I would say the eagle thing might be the secret path, and this might be the scavenger path. So we're going to grapple axe on this, I guess, and there's really nothing else you can do. It was too difficult to shoot that bird to assume you have to shoot them. Maybe they start flying to you, but you can just kind of avoid them. I don't know. Also, I have no idea what I do next. I grapple axe to that one. You can see the little hook at the bottom here. They, I guess, indicate that. And then I grapple axe to that one. And then I turn and grapple axe that one, and that one it looks like. It's easier than it seemed, actually. Just press A and X multiple times.
Got to be more careful.
And then we have Lara Croft cussing again. We should double check. Excuse me. Next time we're fighting people, which may be for quite a while, We should double check to see if we're even seeing blood when we're shooting people in the head, because it does kind of feel like this is a T for teen style game.
Oh, shit!
Um,
Can't stay here.
Supposed to do that one, I assume. Time slowing down.
Giving way. That was close.
So we can never do that again, or magically these will all be back next time we're here. But yeah, if we're not seeing blood, this almost certainly could have been a T for teen game. So, and if this is a T for teen game, instead of a rated M for mature game, which I assume it was sold as that, it seems like then they got away with a lot of procedurally generated cussing. And I just don't think that helps Lara Croft as a character. And let's just be honest here. Lara is British. Would she be saying shit, or would she be saying shite? Would she be using this cunt word a lot as a friendly reference if she's a cusser? Which Lara, obviously in older games, would not been really much of a cursor. Doesn't make a lot of sense if Indiana Jones cussed a lot. There's something like Indiana Jones is set in the 20s in part to have that nostalgia of old censored TV movies, so you wouldn't have that level of cussing. And yes, Lara Croft is set in a more modern time. But yeah, she speaks a proper, like, upper class British way of talking as far as how her sounds, her diction is. She's not like doing Cockney rhyming language or Scouse or something like that. She's definitely not speaking like a commoner in any other case, so why would she use common language? If anything, you could give a lot more personality to Lara Croft if she insulted people through intelligence instead of cursing, or just use bloody a lot. Like, yes, I don't want her to become a caricature of a British lady, but she's weirdly coming off as a English dialect with, or a United States dialect with a British accent, which I don't think her story explains that. Oh, well, seems pretty obvious I have failed miserably on doing high dives. I would also say it's probably not a one-to-one comparison to say a rated R movie gets like one F word for every like 2 hours or so that a movie would be. 80 minutes to a movie could potentially be 3 or 4 hours long. I don't think it's the one. It's a one-to-one comparison there. I think you have to kind of expect that even a 60-hour game probably also should only get one F word at most. And honestly, I think that system is kind of stupid anyways. I think 0 F words makes sense, or you can just have as many as you want. And in most cases, if you're going to have as many as you want, it should make sense. I don't want a Quentin Tarantino type video game where every other word is the F word, unless you are literally making something like a Quentin Tarantino movie, which that would be interesting, certainly. I have no idea what's in that cave, but it seems to me like there's some stealth things, so it would seem like maybe you would fight something in here, or that you might get backed into this corner, or maybe they just wanted to remind you that stealth was a thing. Although I'm not really expecting a lot. I'm not expecting encounters. We can kind of see that they didn't want us to have to deal with the dive section too much, so they've made it a shallower, more shallow pool for us to run around and collect resources. And the water in this shallow pool, while it gives you a nice waterfall, seems like it is really here to just interesting. No experience for shooting the frog. Seems like it's gonna catch or fall in one small jump here, and that's it. It's been over an hour, storyline, narrative-wise, where we have not run into the pygmy characters. And weirdly, seems like we're about to hit a hunting section. Yeah, and as far as resources, we still have plenty of resources to collect. Slightly concerned I might be high on gold and max out on gold, but I've also kind of maxed out on anything I can buy on the merchant in Kwakalaku. I'm going to take a little bit of a break. This seems like a good point, and then I'll be right back. I'm just going to pause the video. Okay, I'm back. I wish that there was a more consistent way in which almost all games were made so that it would make more sense to take a break. Although, in this case, we really have done quite a bit in the last hour, so it would make sense that I could make an hour-long episode. We started here, and then went under the section here, and went through all of this. But I keep expecting to see fighting sections, and noticeably, we're just kind of missing those fighting sections. And I've seen that a couple of times. Feels like each of these hunting sections, to begin with, should have some kind of rabid, in this case, I guess llama. It might make some sense, or wolf, even if you're just a jaguar shows up in each location to start off with. So when you first enter a hunting section, it's a boss fight. That would kind of make a lot of sense. The hunting sections are big enough and to give you that kind of experience. Or you just, throw some Trinity people at me in that section. Although I think we're going to be fighting these smaller characters. This is crazy. We're just going to crouch down under here, and that's going to be your transition to the hunting section. And we've just made it to the hidden city.
Jonah, I may have found it. The hidden city. I'm gonna look for the serpent with a silver eye.
So, in the hidden city, I guess we were supposed to be looking for a serpent with a silver eye. Weirdly, I shoot that down. Can I actually hit this in the heart? It doesn't strike me like hitting the creatures in the heart
Can't carry anymore.
actually leads towards anything. I would almost expect that shooting these masks might drop resources. It would be kind of crazy to be attacked by a llama. And these bigger animals seem to always give you 2 hides and 1 fat, regardless of where you're hunting. So it doesn't feel like you're ever going to really need to go to a specific location to hunt a specific thing. And there's a mistake in this that to say you found the hidden city when I'm not really seeing anything that looks like a city yet. Unless you're saying these, unless you're trying to imply that like this wall here is the hidden city and it's all been destroyed. Which maybe that is exactly what they're implying, is that this is the hidden city as it stands in modern time, and I'm still banging on the drum of potentially going back in time. So maybe we will see a different version of the hidden city. I question why you would find black powder in an abandoned city, though. So we can't go there until we have the climbing gear. I wish there was a way to just hit these things, but no. You have to use your bows and arrows. I really don't get it. I don't get why there's so many leaves and stealth things in an environment like this when I'm fighting llamas. Like it just doesn't even...
Hello?
It doesn't even make sense.
Who's there? Almost. Hello?
Well, is there anything else we really want to deal with? It would make more sense for there to be some arrows more than black powder. Whoops. Well, I guess hitting the heart does do massive damage, because that one definitely didn't want to die in a 3rd shot or 2nd shot even. There's a whole water section over here we could probably engage with too if we wanted to, but I think it makes a lot of sense to just move the story forward. We're increasingly seeing missing gear prompts. What is the deal with this?
I can hear you.
Of course, I'm getting very distracted with collectibles.
Almost.
I would kind of have to assume that you should.
I can help you. Get back! You don't belong here.
Yeah, I'd almost assume as soon as you hear the person, that should start the cutscene and take control away from me. So you just can kill the concerned father, who is
Trinity.
training his son, I think.
Thank you.
Well, I guess we didn't kill a concerned father. So the mostly naked ladies. She looks a lot like Sam, I think, is what you're supposed to take from that. Although, in fairness, I haven't seen Sam since 2 games ago, when she basically
Who are
died.
you? What's your purpose here?
I'm a researcher. Lara Croft.
They'll be back. We must find safety. Bring her.
So, bag over the head. So there's a Trinity group that is
You're not only my son, you're my heir.
in
You must not court unnecessary
Incan
danger.
armor for some
Had you
reason.
not been there, would this woman have found us? I'm glad you're safe.
Remember, we could have immersive audio on right now, and then this would all be in Spanish, I assume. So they're going to put a bag over your head, then they're going to take you to a room with a map of the whole city on the wall. And a room that has very fancy gold linens.
If you're not with the cult, how did you find this place?
I followed a map from a temple. I was expecting ruins, not you or any of this. The cult. Why did they attack your son? I recognize their insignia. I know them as Trinity. I'm trying to stop them.
Stop them from doing what?
They're looking for an artifact. Some sort of box connected to a moon goddess.
Why do you want it? To steal it? Sell it?
No. I just can't let Trinity, the cult, get to it first. They're too dangerous.
Why? What have they done to you?
They killed my father. Can I show you something? Do you know what this is?
It's interesting she called herself a researcher instead of
This is
archaeologist.
Paititi. You're already here.
Paititi, the hidden city. But what's this eye?
That is a place of death and sacrifice. And you think your artifact is there?
Yes.
No, none who has gone has ever returned.
I'd be willing to try.
You would risk it simply to stop the cult.
Yes.
They're trying to show off a lot of hair physics
Bring him in.
now with 2 characters on the screen.
Jonah.
Are you okay?
Do you know this man?
He's my best friend. Abby.
She's fine.
Who else is looking for you?
There's no one else.
I believe we're seeking the same thing. We will bring you to the serpent with the silver eye, but we'll keep your friend here. You won't get very far if you're lying, and he will not be comfortable.
You don't need to do that.
It's fine. I'll stay.
Etzli, get this woman some clothes. Uchu, keep him company.
Get this woman some
Back as soon as I
clothes.
can.
What's wrong with the clothes I'm wearing? It feels like there should have been a sequence where my clothes got shot up
Pretty nice
or
place.
something.
Quiet.
And you look at these guys and they're not wearing barely anything at all.
This is incredible.
They're straight up gonna put gold necklace on her. So this is where the story breaking option to have different outfits on while you're in the hidden city could be enabled. I don't know why you would specifically even make that an option. I would think this probably just highlights how the armor aspect as a concept gets... Let's see. Many rebels wear blue in support of it. Yep. The armor aspect gets in the way of the idea of just straight up having her change an outfit like you would in a movie, having 2 or 3 outfit changes or slight outfit changes during the course of a movie. In video games, most characters
Don't
tend
know your
to
name.
stay in the same
I
outfits the whole
apologize.
time.
As the rebel leader, I have to be careful. I am the rightful queen, Unuratu.
Who are they rebelling against then?
Etzli, you still owe me a scouting report.
Yes, Mother. There was one thing this morning.
Yes?
I saw Hakan debating with his neighbor. He seemed angry. As I came near, they suddenly stopped talking. Then they started laughing as if one had told a joke.
He's planning something. Good work.
Thank you, Mother.
So it really does seem weird that you would have this royal robe on when everybody else seems to be dressed, probably because it's really hot in the area
As you
in
can
minimal
see,
clothing.
Secrets don't stay secret for very long in Paititi. If you were to deviate from the plan,
You'd find out quickly. I see that.
Who is she rebelling against? I don't know. I feel like the reason they've put her in
she's
this...
here to help me find something I lost. You don't have to worry about that.
Interesting, they didn't translate that one. Which,
Was Father a scout when he was my age?
He was a hunter.
Was he ferocious?
it really highlights that you shouldn't let
But
the
he was
player
also very
choose
kind.
the language characters speak as much as you should just let the artist of the game. If anything, it feels like there are just no artists touching on this game. See, this feels more in line if they were going to make you wear traditional dress. It almost feels like they've put you in the blue royal robes
Look
as a
around if you
way.
wish.
Who are you?
I will be in the market across the river when you're ready to find the box of fish shell.
Yeah. Like she knows something from the past potentially. And that she's putting you in the royal robes to protect you. Or even she's just incredibly gracious for you saving her son. So this is a big section of map. And this feels like this will be a tomb. And this feels like this may be the entrance to a tomb. The main thing I want to do is find the merchant.
Careful, friend of Unuratu. The jaguar warriors. Don't... Careful, friend of Unuratu.
It's two
The
different
jaguar
dialogues
warriors.
happening
Don't
twice.
get too close to them. They are always watching for rebel activity, and they have no mercy.
Yeah, that audio just glitched, I think, quite a bit there as they're trying to have different lines of dialogue happen at the same time. Okay, well, I could use some hardwood.
All full up. Can't carry any more.
I think it's worth also mentioning here. It feels like it would be fairly natural if in the hidden city people are barely wearing any clothes because I assume it's super hot or humid or they're just always getting wet in the water. You probably are much closer to like an African, let's not cover up the tops of on ladies. And if you're gonna go for mature, it's a real shame that really can't have a game where natives are walking around in the way they actually would have been dressed because of the ESRB and censorship, effectively. Even if the ESRB isn't a government body.
Khan have only succeeded in destroying more crops. First, the bee colonies collapsed. Then the cocoa crop failed. The earth is too damaged for anything but corn to grow, and the stalks are flimsy. We must take action, or Paititi will suffer a tremendous famine.
2 collectibles next to each other.
This is a traditional foot plow, still used in the Andes today, even outside Paititi. Sometimes the simple ways are still the best.
It's kind of ridiculous they're saying don't deviate from the plan, and then they immediately let you deviate from the plan and wander around. That being said, I don't think I'm going to really find too much. It doesn't even really feel like there are too many people to talk to. Meanwhile, I'm looting their resources after I just read that they are potentially suffering a famine. That's the logical break, certainly, of what a courteous person would do in this situation, particularly with their friend being threatened, versus the video game logic of just collecting everything.
Mama says it upsets the waterfall's waka if I play in the cave. She just thinks it's too dangerous, even though there's all kinds of neat stuff in there.
Here we can see some ray tracing flickering happening as the level of detail changes.
Impossible. I can't carry anymore.
And a little bit more XP really isn't going to help me much. But we need to get, I guess, our linguistics abilities up.
Famine, raised in rebellion, orphaned but never alone. He rises as the sun. All full up. Can't carry anymore.
Missing gear again. And I can't hunt a llama. So the fact that that is being highlighted just is because of the way the game is programmed. It'd make a lot of sense for it to not be programmed that way. When in a city, don't highlight things that are animals. Interesting, they make a sound effect if you bump into them.
I don't have enough space for that.
So overall, it does just kind of seem like you're really should just move the story forward.
He has them.
Enough, Taki. You lost your dice. Fine. But don't lie about it.
So maybe
I can see him, even if no one else can.
he's talking about something as a side quest.
Okay?
No. Pisco the Dead took my dice, and no one believes me. But he took them.
A dead man took your dice. Are you sure you didn't lose them?
Ugh, you're as bad as the rest of them.
I'm sorry. You're right. I'll tell you what. I'll pay very close attention, and if I see Pisco the Dead, I'll ask for your dice back.
Really? You believe me?
It wouldn't be the first time the dead seemed to speak to me.
So find Pisco the Dead. How am I supposed to do that? I guess maybe it's just a hidden thing as a quest. A lot of sound effects. Still really not that much going on in the hidden city. If anything, it feels like this city has managed to have a lot more buildings in it by reducing the amount of textures compared to this city. Not that city, that's not a city. This city. Like, this is considerably smaller and has way fewer buildings, but in that section there is quite a lot of modern textures and modern items, where it seems like they've been able to make an even bigger city by repeating the same textures on walls. I guess this is the direction in general we're supposed to go for that side quest. Just bricks, same people wearing kind of the same outfits over and over again, same corn stalks. Noticeably, it doesn't seem like any of these people were involved in a storm or a flood. So it does kind of seem like Yaku's inhabitants might end up moving to the hidden city at some point.
Do you believe that major events in life can be traced back to a single moment? I do. Take what's happening now. Had Amaru and Sairi not fought that day during the famine, and had Sairi not insisted, despite Amaru's wishes, that it should be him who would go beyond the safety of the borders to hunt for the village, perhaps things would be different today. You see, Amaru felt responsible for his brother's death. I heard him the night they pulled Sairi's body from the wilderness. He was beside himself with grief. I think that was the moment. It broke Amaru. He took complete control of Paititi after that. He wanted to protect us all, because he couldn't protect Sairi.
So we're getting backstory as far as, I think, the non-rebel part of the group. And so we can see these guys are, like, fishing, and that's why they're in such small clothing. So seems like they let the little girl also try and fish with her hands.
I caught a fish once at home, in the well. Papa says it's because there are tunnels filled with water under some houses. Funny, huh?
Notably, though, she's, as a little girl, fully clothed, which stands out, certainly, amongst even the little boy here. So there's an odd split there, and that dress has such a pattern to it that it looks like a more modern dress. We need more dialects to be able to decipher that. I think I would mostly say I don't like the inconsistency here in the different... I mean, if at some point just comes to sexism, positive sexism, reverse sexism, whatever, those aren't the right phrases. That you've got the females must be fully clothed and protected from the male gaze, and yet the male deserves no privacy whatsoever and is totally capable of being ogled by the player if you so choose. And that is to go to even an extreme here of not excluding male children while definitely protecting female children. If you had kind of more of a swimsuit type bikini outfit here for both of them, it'd probably be fine. It's funny, they're pointing at fish, but there are no fish here. These guys are blind, obviously. They're whistling and looking for fish. I don't feel like whistling would actually cause a fish to to swim near you. I think it would cause it to swim away from you. Because think about it, just logically. What makes a whistling sound effect? Or a sound that's a high frequency like whistling? Birds. What do birds often eat? Fish. So why would a fish come to the surface when hearing whistles? Or caws?
I don't have enough space for that.
I mean, fish are dumb, certainly, so there might be an occasion that it works exactly like that. It just doesn't. I don't know if that's true or not.
A little advice. Stay out of the wilderness, friend. Something dangerous prowls out there. This is as near as I ever go. And even then, I make sure not to keep my back to the jungle for too long at a time.
Feels like there's probably jaguars throughout the entirety of the forest. It does seem like I probably just need to move the story forward and until I can have free roam. Otherwise, I feel like I'm just gonna eventually get
a wolf den in the area. But then again, maybe that is why you're here.
What do you mean?
The gods have sent one outsider to hunt another. Very appropriate. Best of luck on your hunt.
So now we have a black wolf potentially to hunt if we went back that way, but that's not the direction we're supposed to be going. Should this be a city of gold as a hidden city? I kind of think it should. Like, it feels a little disappointing for all the talk of the hidden city that we aren't seeing more buildings and monoliths with gold, that there wouldn't be just a large amount of decoration and treasure, something to really make it seem like there's something special about this city. If anything, it feels like the hidden city will give away at some point to potentially another city somewhere over here that will be even more impressive, which I wouldn't even be surprised if there was like a modern city with just modern people wandering around that was very nice looking instead of a dilapidated modern city in this case.
I make my way all the way over to him, and he tells me we can't barter. Said I had nothing he wanted. Imagine that. Surrounded by garbage and entrails, and he thinks he can talk to me like that? Well, he just lost a customer. I'll never visit his stall again. All my business will be conducted at the market from now on.
I have no idea who she's talking about, though. So what am I supposed to do with that conversation? Okay. Guess we're entering a bazaar. And see, this might be a point where the textures get a little high, and that's where these walls certainly could help, so you don't have to load in as much visuals. Here, this is more impressive. Although I'd say that wall and those buildings over there feel almost British thatch hutch design, not the more brick-built design we've seen out here. Thatch hutch might be the wrong term.
You're here during a busy time, friend. The tanners, the butchers, the weavers, the dyers, even the teachers. All the districts are preparing. The market will be busy. Great things are on the horizon for the city and its people. We all must do what we can to help Kukulkan usher in a new world.
So, you can just pick up things next to shop stalls. Auction for a llama.
Beautiful.
Although weirdly, it doesn't seem like there is a lot of merchants here. Here we have non-translated dialogue, so clearly they didn't translate everything. Geez, I wonder if a video game would be rated higher if it shows something like this as far as the adult rating. Well, noticeably, he just stabbed this chicken and it's not bleeding at all. So blood on surfaces seem to be okay. Blood coming out of something, not okay. And he's just in a salesman. Like, initially cutting the throat and then cutting the spine of a chicken, hanging it upside down. It should be gushing out blood. And frankly, you should be hanging the chickens up, not just throwing them in a jar to despawn it. Yeah, there's kind of nothing you can do. The market must open up later. And yes, it feels once again like this is an attempt at just having a lot of fancy visuals and ray tracing. Seems like you can just get behind the stalls and steal items too. Bringing our resources up. So see what happens if we talk to this lady here. She may actually be a merchant.
I don't recognize you. What are you doing here? Where did you get that tunic?
It was given to me by Unuratu.
Oh, you are the queen's guest? I meant no offense. Please, you must forgive me.
It's all right. Don't worry.
How may I help you?
Does it make sense that the merchant would be covered in mud? And does it feel good that my outfit from the Queen's Guest looks amazingly well designed and the merchant is totally tattered in design? So it seems to me like to get specific hides, you either have to hunt or you have to buy them. But I'm not sure there really is a way that you would get enough gold to do both. So we're at 4,000 pieces. A knife upgrade would sharpen your blade to unlock new abilities. Upgrade basic blades to cut through braided ropes. Already upgraded blades will be enhanced to receive more resources when harvesting animals. So that seems like a no-brainer. A larger insulated storage pack to increase your carrying capacity of natural and man-made resources. Sounds like a no-brainer. And a satchel to increase your carrying capacity even more. So first you get more resources.
Here you go.
And then we'll have to start selling things, which I don't think is too hard. It says right here in the gold ore that you only sell this. So we don't need to hold any of it back, I would say. We can just sell it all. Whereas the rest of these are, say, they are used for crafting, upgrading, things like that. So this whole time I could have just been hitting max and selling that. Hardwood comes by frequently enough that I probably will get that too, but let's just get higher resources first. And
the gods favor us both.
And at a certain point, if we get better prices, we would potentially just start buying salvage instead of picking it up. Yeah, mostly what this is going to boil down to now is, since we have higher capacity, do I need to hold on to anything? Or Should I sell things? I think you probably don't want to sell anything. We'll probably get better sale prices once we get the skills upgraded, and right now it looks like we've doubled our capacity on everything at least, or nearly. And yeah, there's nothing really to buy right now. So we've like immediately eliminated the need to ever return to the merchant, or for at least a while. We won't need to return to it. There's another skill point. It definitely feels to me like it would have made more sense if the game walked you, it even took control away and just walked you to the merchant and then told you to talk to the merchant, and like the queen introduced you to the merchant, and then you did the merchant sequence, and then when you got out of that, then the game would still take control away from you.
Will you trade?
And
please, I have barely made enough to offer in tribute.
Tribute to who?
Have you
the
walking
cult of Kukulkan, of course. They demand half
further
of all profits earned
for
on
the
market
story.
day. But if they think I tried to short them,
I understand.
Thank you, Ishiki. Will you trade then?
There's like a rebel system, and then there is a then there's a cult too. I guess at this point we probably should sell some things. It makes a lot of sense just to get rid of perception plants. We need money.
You have made an excellent choice, my friend.
And focus plants, I don't think we'd ever use that.
You will find it useful.
We could eventually buy better bows, other than the DLC pay to win bows. I don't think we need to buy fire arrows or silent arrows. At a certain level, maybe you just skip to the large arrow. Then we're going to need, obviously, quite a bit of gold if we are going to eventually be able to afford all of these weapons. Let's see. We'll sell that.
You have made an excellent choice, my friend.
All. We'll sell
the gods
that.
favor us both.
Need 300 more.
You have made an excellent choice, my friend.
So large fur lined requires you to buy this first.
The gods favor us both.
And so then I would need 1,600 more. And I question whether I should sell things to get up to that point. That's a lot. Like if I was to sell all of that, I could sell all of this. I don't think I'm going to use the endurance plants.
You have made an excellent choice, my friend.
Gets me close.
The gods
That gets me
favor us
closer.
I am certain you will find it useful.
Need 300 more.
The gods favor us both. That trade is not possible. I am sorry.
We need 80 more. Which we can do that.
You have made an excellent choice, my friend. The gods favor us both.
So now we can hold a lot more arrows, which means, assuming, and I'm making a big assumption here, we will be able to pick up more arrows when we're fighting people and save them when we want to hunt, and I'll have to craft less arrows going forward. But yeah, there's no way I can afford any
I'm
of
always
this.
ready to trade.
So these simple upgrades, yes, we did in one move, and they've opened a different stall for more expensive upgrades, and it does kind of seem like this market eventually will open up and even more purchases. Yeah, I would have expected more things like this. Ancient stone-built buildings with either yellow or gold on them. I kind of would expect gold and yellow to be your default indicator of where you can climb. So now that we got the knife upgrade, we can run back here. And that gets us 5 gold bars and a hide. So that pretty much paid for itself. Or started to pay for itself already. And then it feels like this is going to start a cutscene. But not until I walk further.
Hakan!
What is this?
Cultist, waiting for their deity to appear. When the catastrophes come, the god Kukulkan must be sacrificed to power the sun. Otherwise, the world dies.
Sacrifice a god?
The sacrifice is my duty. But this cult leader will take my place and attempt to become the god. He believes we can remake the world and live in a paradise of his design.
Remake the world.
What?
I've heard those words before.
There he is!
So we're gonna find that the doctor guy is now the cult leader.
I know him. That's Dr. Mingus.
I think you would drop the doctor.
The instrument of our unity and salvation. Soon, our dreams of peace and safety will be realized.
They already call him Kukulkan, but his real name is Amaru. He was born here, but raised, lied to, by outsiders. The people believe in him.
But you don't.
My late husband, Saidi, was his brother. They had differences over the future of Paititi. When Saidi died, Amaru devoted himself
lot
to the
of
cult.
Dust and just artifacts. Looks like leaves and bugs flying around, distracting the scene. Feels very engine generated and not cinematic.
Persevere and thrive forever.
I know him well. If Amaru is successful, all of us who disagree will never see this paradise. The rebels will be discarded.
Not if they don't find the box.
Yes. Our best hope is to find it first. Perhaps Amaru might still be brought to see love and reason.
Death to the outsiders! Retribution will come!
Hakan! Enough!
We must strike while the snake is within reach.
Justice will be met in good time. Do not jeopardize our rebellion for the sake of impulse.
So she's a rebellion against the cult. Which, I don't know why you would call it a rebellion at that point.
Edsley, go scout ahead. We'll meet you at the edge of the mountain. Last warning. Go. Follow Edsley. Your clothing won't hide you long from these guards.
So,
okay, I'll find
why
the box.
give her such a different outfit?
You've been warned to keep the peace.
I was just out for a pleasant stroll with my son.
Amar is losing his patience.
It won't happen again.
If anything, instead of putting her in the unique blue outfit, why not put her in a
Jonah,
headdress
can you answer?
and make her look like all the other
Dominguez is
guards,
here. He's
or
the leader of the cult of
dye
Evil
her
Khan.
hair
That's
black,
what Unuratu's
which would be
rebels
an
are
interesting
fighting.
twist.
What?
He's been here for years. Trinity controls Paititi. I'm going to the Eye of the Serpent. We have to get the box before the next cataclysm hits.
Now, I really would have to question the safety in using your radio and talking to Jonah when he's being held captive, because we don't know how the guards there would have reacted to him talking on the radio. Also, this outfit, I guess, just magically holds all of your equipment since there really is no belt on it. Yep. It actually would be an interesting thing to do in an Indiana Jones movie or a Tomb Raider game, to say, hey, you know what? Lara Croft has been this blonde, straight, long-haired girl, but she needs to integrate and hide and stealth since that's a part of this game, so let's dye her hair pitch black and let's do a different look, particularly since Lara Croft is iconically one of the greatest cosplayed characters ever. You would inherently create a new cosplay look for Lara Croft if she had black hair that was shorter, held up in a different type of style. Whereas the different armors and outfits, like this blue Paititi Royal dress, is not iconic enough that cosplayers would really wear this. And if anything, it would look like you're just appropriating like Native American dress or South American dress. If you were wearing this as a cosplayer, it just doesn't really move the needle much anyways. I would not recognize somebody cosplaying Lara Croft in this outfit as far as the costume. If she had all this bows and arrows and equipment on her, I still would kind of just think it was somebody cosplaying an original character creation. Okay. Seems like I can go wherever I want now, and seems like I'm somewhat safe to do whatever I want. Yeah. Interesting. In this case, it does kind of feel like at some point they were going to have them wearing that sash style of underwear, pants, or is what they would call it in British terminology. Did I talk to this person? Do I want to talk to these people? Do I care? There's just a lot of people to talk to and not a lot of reward. The idea of Indiana Jones having to hide his identity does happen. Like, there definitely are points where he dresses up like a Nazi to get past the Nazis. This would be a direct equivalent to that. And you could have Lara Croft be a better, more interesting character by being able to actually pull that off. So now we have Yucatec.
After a long dry season, when the rains finally fell, the rats left their burrows looking for more food. They brought with them pests. Those afflicted bleed from their ears and nose and died in terrible pain and terrible numbers, leaving many once populous cities empty.
So they're talking like bubonic plague or something. Although, at some point, you're actually highlighting an understanding of the bubonic plague that at least people in the UK back during the Plague Times didn't realize. They actually thought the cats were bringing in the bubonic plague and killing the rats, killing the cats, which was increasing the amount of rats when it's really the fleas on the rats that were spreading it. So we now know that of the proficiency of languages, there's a Yucatec, a Quichua, and a Mam. And so we figured that out. Good to know. And for the most part, it's probably worth it to just move the story forward. If I could get to a temple, that might be helpful. I'm not even sure that I didn't come in on this direction. No, I don't think so. But the fact that they put a bag over your head does kind of imply that I may very well have jumped down here and already been at this point. No, I don't think so though. I think we were... Where were we? Yeah, we were... Where? Here. And from this point, we skipped over this whole point to here. This obviously is some kind of special flooding agriculture. I need all the resources I can get since I've sold everything, so let's grab it while we can. Not that I really regret any of my purchases. It does seem, though, like you're not likely to get too much underwater. Couple places where you can get experience. I still, though, kind of feel like you get experience sometimes at random. Like the game is running an algorithm to say you've collected 4 or 5 things, so we want you to feel like that's worthwhile, so we'll give you some experience, but then it will sneakily not give you experience for doing the same actions every 3rd time and shortchange you. Is this a dive spot? It is a spot you can dive to. It's not a spot that rewards you from diving from it. They have done a weird thing now where they've set it up so that both Abby and the Queen feel like these are these female friends of potential female friends of Lara Croft, and yet they haven't really done anything with either character. There is lesbian.
Don't authority where you come from, Ishiki?
I think it's part of growing up, pushing boundaries. Are they in danger?
No. The guards threatened, but when they were young, they threw rocks at guards too.
Yeah, not really getting the full story here. This would have worked well, where you could have had all the male characters having a sash like this, although the sash probably needs to cover the full tops. I have no idea what was in there for the boy children. can see there's a slide down this way and the braided rope. Wow, that visually glitched quite a bit.
Someone's taking this old walkie-talkie apart. Were they making an attempt at reverse engineering, I wonder?
No secret to find here. It's a lot of texture, and frankly it looks like it is a actual schematic of an actual walkie-talkie, or at least close enough that you would not question it. Although, having actually been educated in electronics, there are some telltale signs that make me think that this is not a real walkie-talkie design, in that you have a very big transformer connecting to a 9-volt battery. Then you have a smaller transformer in the middle of the circuit board connecting to that. It looks like there might be a ceramic resistor, which would be the big rectangular, wish I could zoom in more. The big rectangular white thing is probably like a ceramic resistor. It could be an attempt at a capacitor. And then the orange, yellow, and blue things in the lower right corner would be variable resistors, which I'm not sure you really would need that. It kind of makes sense. But what you're not seeing here, and that's what stands out the most, is a like ferrite core, which would be a black rod for like an AM reception. It would be a black rod with wires wrapped around it, and you're just not seeing that. Also, you'd have to just assume that the speaker is on the other side of the circuit board. And some of these components are a little smaller, too small for this level of technology. There's no IC, integrated circuit chips, on this. This would be purely analog. That being said, it is actually a very good design, to say the least, for a video game, for a 3D model. Far too good of a design, considering there's just no way you're ever going to zoom in and see a radio disassembled and care in any way, even if you did see it. In all fairness, people who know how to like repair cell phones these days also are not likely to know the older technology, the more analog circuitry design anyways. So I am kind of in a unique position in that I'm old enough to have been trained in old analog circuitry. Of course, it wasn't very helpful to be trained in that, because nobody, even when I was in school learning that as an elective, nobody was paying for repairs to radios. That stands out as something interesting. It's kind of interesting we have a lot of blues and purples all of a sudden. You would have thought that this royal blue outfit in general should be the brightest, most colorful thing that you would see in those palettes. I am confused about what I was supposed to do with that, because I can't shoot anything. Yeah, it's giving me hardwood, like I could pull out a bow. Almost makes me wonder if at some point we will be able to pull out a bow and arrow. Obviously this purple frog symbol means something. But if I'm in a city and I'm having to use the senses to find things to interact with, wow, just a straight up load section there. Is that any different than being... Where's this monolith? Said I discovered a monolith. I don't see a monolith. This must be on the other side of the wall, which highlights that they programmed the system poorly so that you can find things without actually getting eyes on it. And ideally, I would like to see the games take control and make sure I'm seeing something before saying. We're going along here, and I think I'm just gonna have to stop at some point. Come on. Some more jade. I am of the opinion that jade is considerably more valuable. That seems to be the only thing there. Now that we're swimming and we can get a view up the dress, we're saying she's still wearing pants under that. Again, here's the monolith.
Can't figure out the dialect. I must be missing something.
But this all just feels too much like a Hitman game. People that you instinctively are being told to ignore because they're not important. I'm assuming what I'm supposed to do here is just jump to reach that. Interesting. That wasn't part of a challenge? Can I not open? See, I don't know if finding something like this is what the monolith is actually pointing to. And we may translate some monoliths and find there actually isn't anything left to collect. So I guess the frog symbol might be an indicator to a riddle on the monolith.
Ishiki, would you like to hear a story? One that my mother used to tell.
I would love to.
This feels like this is going to be long.
Throughout the city, haven't you? Do you know why they exist?
No, why?
We once had a queen, a very vain woman. She ordered these wells dug so that as she walked through the city, she could always see her reflection. One day, she knelt beside one of the pools, and a fish surfaced. She became very angry. The ripples in the water ruined her reflection. This queen tried to capture the fish, but she slipped and fell in and disappeared.
Disappeared?
Many tunnels between the whales were discovered during the search, but she was never found. Some say the queen is still down there, trying to catch that fish.
Thank you. That was quite the story.
So twice now we've been told that there are tunnels between the wells. And I kind of assume that they are fast travel sections. So should I be goofing off, looking for surprises, or should I be trying to just move the story forward? Inherently, I think it is really a game that wants you to get distracted as much as possible, to probably hide a element that there really can't be that much more game here. I don't think we're leaving this Peru area. I think best case scenario, it looks like there's probably something here, and we might have a time travel element, but I don't know if the time travel element is going to be as open world at all. It may not be open world at all. Message mission giver now. That feels like that's labeled specifically as deluxe edition DLC. Yeah, we may have a time travel aspect and only go to the hidden city and see it in the past, and we may not be able to travel these other sections, and that probably would be fine. We've seen very few mini side quests, and we haven't found as many challenges as I imagine actually exist, although I question whether any of that is really that useful. It is going to be a nightmare for a lot of these artifacts, because to get to 100% around like daily life of the Inca may very well just require us to fast travel to another area and try and remember what was going on 10, 20, 30 hours ago. And as far as the survival guide, we haven't found anything. I was kind of hoping we would have found a fire pit and been able to use that, but seems like that may be the only base camp around here, although it kind of would make some sense for there to be one here or here. And then this is going to be more of a challenge. As far as the hidden city is concerned, we're only 5% complete, so there's quite a lot to find. A lot of monoliths and other things. So it's not really worth really engaging with until you have a map. Of course, there's nothing that shows you where you would get a map. Other games, it would almost make more sense that you would go to a merchant and buy a map, and then if you didn't choose to spend your gold pieces on buying a map, you would just have to find it or go online. We are very well set as far as resources now, because every satchel has just been improved. But we haven't made any progress at all with the upgrading of weapons or building of outfits. I suppose the question here would have been, don't think you can change the setting. Hidden city outfit restriction is on, and there's no way to turn it off. Reduce camera shake. Center camera horizontally. By default, I don't know why you wouldn't want to center your camera horizontally. I don't know how that would play very differently. Yeah. Seems weird that you can't turn off the hidden city outfit restriction while doing this. And while I am wearing that outfit, I probably am not getting as many resources. How far are we through this game now that we've played for 2 hours and 20 minutes plus? Well, we made a lot more progress, 5% progress compared to the last time I saved, where it was only 3% progress from 23% to 26%. So looking at that, it seems to indicate that we're a third of the way through the game. In reality, I imagine there is a high chance I will lose steam and stop trying to collect everything and stop caring about unlocking everything. As far as achievements go, if we were going to try and use that as an indicator, I have 20 out of what looks like 99, so almost exactly 20%. But I also would suspect that a lot of achievements have some progress made towards them. For instance, like getting better equipment. To get 3 pieces of equipment, I very possibly have another achievement to get 5 pieces of equipment after that, or 10 pieces of equipment. There might be some achievements also that are multiplayer connected, and so it may very well be absolutely impossible to get all the achievements even if you wanted to. Finding the hidden city is a storyline quest achievement, and 64.1% of players have done that. So I have to either assume that I am playing very slowly and way too thoroughly, or enough people who actually bought Shadow of the Tomb Raider actually wanted to play it all the way through. There is this weirdness around games in general in that actual gamers, not video game journalists who play the game in a couple days and then never talk about the ending because they don't want to spoil things, actual gamers tend to play games and not really comment as far as how far they get or talk about the ending. So achievements are about the only way you can get any kind of ideas as to what percentage of players actually made it to the end of a game. And I'm actually surprised 64% of players have made it this far. They probably did it with much more of a run and gun mentality. I definitely feel like this game works better if you don't think of it as an OCD collectathon and think of it more as a run and gun game. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to support me further, there's some links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.